Okay, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce you to some people that are here tonight. Jeremy Smith, as we all know, Mayor, City Canyon Lake, is our moderator for the evening. We have John Grande sitting at the table. He is the timekeeper. He's with the chamber. So he's the man with power tonight. So just keep that in mind. I'd like to introduce Kelly Welty, Joseph DeCasperis, Donna Ritchie. We have Aaron Adams and Megan Cortez, all from the chamber who helped put this event together. So a big thank you to all of them. I didn't miss anybody, right? So obviously the candidates will be introducing themselves, but before we get started, both Jeremy and John are going to take us through the format for tonight and remind everybody of our time, because that's John's job, is timekeeping. But before I turn the mic over to them, because I do love my mic, just remember, karma. What did they say about karma? But I would like to ask the audience to please be very respectful of our candidates tonight. This can be a little bit nerve-wracking for those who haven't done it before. And please remember, the acoustics in this room can be kind of tight. So, or kind of, you know the word I'm trying to think of all of a sudden. Thank you. So we would ask that while the candidates are speaking and while our moderator is speaking, that you please limit your conversations amongst each other. It is very distracting and it makes it hard to hear, especially in the back of the room. So once again, please try and respect everybody that's here and limit the audience questions and chatter until the event is over. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John and Jeremy.
Thank you so much. Can we give it a round of applause for Jeannie, please? She's done such a great job. I promise I won't turn your mic off again, Jeannie. I do apologize. All right, we're going to get going here. We're going to go over some of the format. Thank you all for showing up and participating in this. A huge shout out to the Chambers of Commerce and also the POA for helping facilitate this evening. We're very excited. So let's go over a little bit. Number one, candidates may leave campaign literature, which some of you already have taken advantage of. So campaign literature is in the back room. There's going to be hopefully yard signs and some literature for those of you in the room that would like to grab some on your way out. Candidates will be asked to fill out a card, which you have already done. We're allowing each candidate to ask a question to their opponents, which we will give back to you to ask that question amongst yourselves. And then also, if you do have a question in the audience, please submit it throughout this evening. We're going to have questions that's going to be accepted. For the first portion, we're going to take a break at 7:30. We're coming back at 7:40, and we'll be accepting questions up until about 8:10 or 8:15. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our timekeeper, John, and he's going to explain the rules and how he's going to interrupt you throughout the night.
Well, I'll try not to. I'll try to be as polite as possible. We took some time before we all came into this room to sit down with the candidates and go over the format for tonight. We're going to start with opening statements because opening statements typically work best at the beginning of the night. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their opening statement. And then we'll proceed into the question and answer period. Each candidate will also have 1 minute to answer each question. There will be a timer facing the candidate so they can see how much time they have left. When they have 10 seconds left, I'll give them a subtle hand signal. And then when the time is up, they will hear an alarm. They keep talking, we'll ask them politely to stop. And that's in respect to the other candidates. And ultimately, we will turn off your microphone. So please be mindful of the time we have. At the end of the evening, we will have, you'll have time for your closing statements. And that'll be 2 minutes. And we will have a portion later on in the evening where we'll have candidate-to-candidate question period. And each candidate will have 45 seconds to respond to statements made by other candidates during that portion. I'll make sure I'm not missing anything. I think we got it.
You did it.
Yep, thank you.
All right, first of all, let's give a round of applause to our candidates. We are so pleased to have you here. So this is going to begin with just a simple introduction. Tell us a little bit about why you're running. He's going to start the clock. I'm going to start off with Rita. By the way, we are playing Russian roulette tonight, so I will call on you randomly, so be prepared for that. But Rita, please take it away.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. And the other reason I'm here is because I've lived in Canyon Lake since 1988, raised my children here, raised my grandchildren here, and I know a lot of the history. I have either done your hair, or I've built your house, or I counseled you when you needed help in crisis. So I feel like I'm home with my family. And this is one of the things that I realize at my age, which I won't submit to, is that my children said, Mom, you did a good job, go have fun. And I'm thinking, fun? I forgot about that. Well, long story short, I'm here because I want to be with my neighbors and friends and have that house on the prairie type thing. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Greg, you're next.
Thank you. Thank everybody for coming, and thank you, City Council and Jeannie, for putting this together. Appreciate it very much. I was born in Northern California. I'm a native Californian, as is my wife, Julie, here in the front row. I went to UC Santa Barbara up the road here, and I graduated with a diploma in economics and signed by Ronald Reagan. I'm very proud of that. I've spent my career as a commercial insurance broker, doing large risk management and financial products for large companies. And so that's given me a good financial background to do this job. I'm a member of several of the clubs in the community here. And my wife, again, and I, we enjoy those very, very much. Sense of camaraderie with my neighbors. And I'm running because I got into the finance committee 2.5 years ago, and I found out how this community really operates financially. And to me, that's extremely important. And that's what I want to bring to this board, is fiscal responsibility going forward. Thank you.
Wow, incredible. Good job. You're watching the time very well. Both you and Rita both get extra credit, so congratulations on that. Alexis, you're next, please.
Hi, my name is Alexis Prince, and I've lived in Canyon Lake almost 8 years. My degree is in design and architecture. I've owned a manufacturing company for 15 years. I was a co-owner, and I had 120 employees. I have a design firm that I've had for 37 years, and I'm still doing part-time work. I'm on the ACC committee and have been for 5.5 years, which I thoroughly enjoy. I love our community. It's the best place I've ever lived. And I'm in Huntington Beach, so it was a lot to, push that over the edge. And it is, I belong to a lot of the clubs, and I'm just very happy that I be able to do this and serve my community. And I believe in being fair and honest and transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Appreciate it. All right, Bill, you are up.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Van Vliet. I've been a resident of Canyon Lake for 6 years, and I'm running for the POA for 2 reasons. One is I believe I have experience that matters. As an executive and CEO of multiple companies, I've developed a strong track record for financial management, and I know how to manage finances of large organizations. I've also been on the board of a homeowners association for 10 years, and so I understand what it takes to run a community like this and manage those finances as well. In Canyon Lake, I've been on 2 of the 9 subcommittees. I've been on the security subcommittee and also on the facilities planning committee and on the facilities and finance joint subcommittee to establish budgets for the community. The second reason I'm running is I believe community safety and security is a top priority. And I have a 40-year career in defense and security, and I have the experience, I believe, to make a difference in Canyon Lake.
Thank you, Bill. Tony.
Hi, guys. Thank you for all coming tonight. My name is Tony Schwarzman. I do have a last name. So that is Schwarzman. My family is over there. I have 2 kids. I've been married for 12 years. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. And I have a 15-year corporate career in operations management. I do believe that I'd be a good fit for this. I've been inspired by previous boards and this current board to serve the community and influence others in younger generations to serve the community as well. I think that this community is one of the greatest places I've ever been a part of, and it was a huge benefit to us as we moved here. I traveled quite a bit, and I felt safe leaving my family here at the comfort of home. I currently now own a Canyon Lake business and enjoy being able to spend most of my time here. Anyways, it would be an absolute honor to serve on this board with any one of these people. Thank you.
You did it. And there you go. There's your candidates for 2022. Again, we are so excited that you all stepped up. So thank you for those self-introductions. Next, before we opened up the doors at 6 o'clock, we met with the candidates and allowed them to write a questions to themselves. This is a good opportunity as they're on the campaign trail. They're learning about each other. So I'm going to ask Joe, if you don't mind, come grab these and hand them to each candidate that did fill out a card so that they can ask these questions. And we're going to start off with Rita because hers is the lengthiest one. Rita took it upon herself to ask each candidate a question, and she was so organized in the way she did it. So Rita, if you don't mind, just start from the top and work your way down and allow each candidate to ask the question that you presented.
Well, my first question is for Bill. And you mentioned that come together in one of your comments. If home life support is your home life support enough to make time for our neighbors by keeping us together?
Is it for Bill or Greg?
Bill,
So he's this way. There we go.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Bill.
I'm
Question's
sorry,
yours, Bill.
I have a problem.
You're okay.
So I believe the question is, do I believe the home life is enough to make the community? Well, I'll tell you what, when it comes to coming together, we are in a community that is very unique. And one of the things that attract us about moving here and retiring here is the culture that we have in Canyon Lake. And I believe it is important for us to continue to make that thrive. We are neighbors, helping neighbors. There's people that bring in dogs. There's helping your neighbor when they need help or they're elderly. And I think that's something we want to continue to foster throughout. It's what's special about Canyon Lake. And I think we need to continue to focus more on our what we have in common than our differences. And I'd like to see us continue to, again, build and work together for the future.
Thank you, Bill.
Go ahead.
This is where you
Okay,
become the moderator.
Greg, what are some ways you plan on promoting communication among all members and age groups and different communications? You mentioned this in your letter.
I did. And I mentioned that because I came to realize early on in this campaign that the vast majority of people, in my opinion, do not really understand how the finances of this community work. And I came to that realization through my work on the Finance Committee. And I was absolutely astounded the first several months I was on that committee about the amount of collective brain power and manpower goes into crunching those numbers to come up every year with the operating budget to present to the board for approval. It's a lot of work, it's tedious work, but it must be done. So my goal is to teach people and try and teach people as best I can through communications of any sort, how this community really operates financially, with the foundation being the work of the Finance Committee rolling up to the board each year for the May 1 operating budget fiscal year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alexa, my question is to describe balance of culture and reaching all Canyon Lake members and feedback methods. How do you plan to communicate with everyone in our 4,800 lots?
Well, I know a lot of people communicate through Facebook and other medias. I'm very active in a lot of the clubs here. I'm the president of the Women's Club. I'm on the ACC board and have been for over 5 years. And because of that, I've met a lot of the homeowners and members, and I frequently get asked questions, about the rules and whatever. So just being transparent, I know a lot of people, and I'm extremely friendly, I guess, maybe.
Yes, I agree.
So thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, on the spot. Tony, you mentioned preserving traditions. how can you understand and communicate what's important to Canyon Lake members so all can be heard in what they call their traditions?
Well, I want to talk about the reason I put traditions. When I was in the Marine Corps, traditions and honor and code are some of the biggest things that we, even now today, we still practice the same traditions in the Marine Corps specifically. So now, when I talk about Canyon Lake traditions, I talk about the use of our lake, the use of this golf course, the getting families together, and the collaboration of multiple clubs to get a common goal. That common goal is raising your families here. You asked a question about communication and my plan moving forward to continue this communication to the whole community. I want to let everybody know that this website, Tony for POA, will continue to stay up throughout my term. We have contact forms on there where we'll be totally available to answer any questions at any time. And this is a way that I'm able to balance this and my family and my life and my business, because you'll have this open-ended opportunity to ask me anything that you'd like to. So the use of technology is an outstanding way to communicate with everybody here, and I allow you to use that opportunity to communicate with me if you need to.
Thank you. And I guess one more, Greg, or he's, wait a minute. There we go. No, I already answered, sorry. Did I miss someone?
I think you did it.
Oh, yes, I did. Morris. He's not here.
He's not here.
That's why. Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on. Bill, you had a question?
So I would like to ask each of our candidates, and let me start, can I just ask, or do you want to randomize it?
Go ahead. I'll let
It's
you.
one question.
It's just one question. Go ahead.
Let's start with my right, your left,
Yep.
and Tony. What do you feel is the role of the board?
The role of the board is to take suggestions from each committees and liaison to those committees to make decisions for the greater community. Their role is to not create rules, but to decide on the rules that are created by the rules by the committees the hard work of the committees that bring rules to the board. We need a level-headed decision maker and a collaborative group to do so.
Go ahead. Greg.
Greg, what is,
There we go.
Greg, what do you feel is the role of a board?
The role of the board is essentially to guide the ship, guide the big ship. As Tony mentioned, we have some great committees out there that work hard and bring ideas to the board for their vote on a yes or no basis. The board is not required, the board members are not required to know everything. Nobody in this room knows everything, right? So you have to have people bring you ideas, their best work, their best thoughts, and then you get to vote on them. So that's how I see the board. They have the duty to guide the ship with the best information they're given, and then it goes to a vote on a majority 3-2 or 4-1 or 5-1, 5-0 basis.
I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Alexis, what do you feel is the role of the board?
I agree both with Tony and Greg. I think actually the board is kind of like a liaison to the actual corporation. I mean, I think we need to, work together and resolve the issues. And I would like to be able to I also will be keeping my website open that I have, or it's actually a Gmail account for questions. And I would like to resolve issues for the members that are here and talk to the other board members about what may be occurring for them. Thank you.
And finally, Rita.
Well, from what I feel and what the board should be doing is to hear the needs of all the members, protect, enforce the rules and the bylaws, to have open, non-prejudice, and communication of clarity so everyone understands the rules correctly. And that means reaching out to whatever method it takes to reach them. Like myself, I do technology, but it's not my best way of communicating. So therefore, anyone that has a need can reach and feel confident and secure with the boards.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, everyone. So lastly, we have Greg. I think Tony and Alexis did not submit a question. So Greg, please ask your question.
This is a little bit long, so I will happily repeat it in between responses. Tony, okay? People are very sensitive to increases in dues and fees. Are you familiar with the process by which the Finance Committee calculates and generates a suggested fee adjustment to the board for the fiscal year beginning each May 1st?
The question is if I'm familiar, you want to turn your
Familiar
mic?
with the process?
I'm gonna be transparent with everyone that I am not familiar with the process that it does take to assess these dues. But I am familiar that it does cost money to run this place. I think that there's a lot that I can learn from the Finance Committee, and I would love to sit on any one of those committees to learn more about it.
Let me make sure I understand you. Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Here we go. People are very sensitive to increases in dues and fees. Are you familiar with the process by which the Finance Committee calculates and generates a suggested fee adjustment to the board for the fiscal year beginning each May 1st?
Somewhat, I do understand it. Of course, I make all the payments. So therefore, I know how it reacts, and I think it's a very fair, at this point, it's very fair compared to other communities. I know it sounds like a lot of money sometimes. I'm not all informed with it, but I would like to understand it better myself.
No, you don't have to read. So I am familiar with the process that the Finance Committee uses. In fact, what's unknown to most members is how much work the committees do. And the Finance Committee in particular does a yeoman's work, all of the heavy lifting that really enables the board to be able to judge and make the final decision. And so there's a lot of work, not unlike the other committees. I know the ACC committee and the Facilities Committee do too, but I'm familiar with the process. What I think is important here is, as you all know, we're living in inflationary times, right? Costs are rising again, from whether it's materials or the gas you're putting in your car or services and so forth. And so it's really important to have a board member, a board in general, that understands the impacts of costs, has the strength and the background to be able to make strong financial decisions, and can prioritize investments and services as required.
My whole goal as a board member will be to try to keep the dues manageable, especially for those that are on fixed incomes, and to make financially sound decisions and common solutions. And I would like to, I realize inflation, just getting your gas tank filled is crazy right now, but it's inevitable that we will have to raise dues, but I will try and strive to make sure they are as minimal as possible. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. All right, now we're moving along to our audience questions. Those of you out there, if you haven't submitted a question and you want to, please do so. We will be accepting them throughout the evening. All right, let's get the party started. Here we go. I'm going to start off with you, Alexis, if you don't mind. What prior experience do you have that will benefit our community and help the process while being on the board?
I have a long work history. I was co-owner of a big manufacturing company. We had 120 employees for 15 years. I've had my own design firm and real estate license for 37 years. And I know how to run a business based on that. And that's very successful and profitable. I was able to support my children while they were growing up on on my salary and whatever. And I think that it's just really, you need to make financially sound decisions. And, I'm educated, and I'm not sure what else I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
Okay. What prior experience do you have that will benefit our community and help the process while you're on the board?
Thank you. So my prior experience is very much a collaborative experience. This is not the first board that I have served on. I was on a board for the California Trucking Association, specifically to rules and regulation that regulate trucking commerce. But that's not why I'm here. Mostly, I do believe that I have a very collaborative effort. I'm a servant style leader that I believe that I can bring a lot of these issues, specifically that we have a city, we have a property owners association, and then we have our lake that we are leasing. It's very important that we have a collaborative effort and to get a common goal together. And I think that I have the skill set in which to do so.
Thank you, Tony. Rita, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes,
Okay. What prior experience do you have that will benefit our community and help the process while you're on the board?
well, one, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, so you can tell that I've been through many crises. The other thing is I've been out in California most of my life. I'm a dual diagnosed counselor. I'm self-employed since I'm 18. I've had all phase construction. I have now working as a dual diagnosed counselor for the Riverside County on a contract with criminal justice committees, housing committees, and I'm very aware. I've attended Rubidoux High School, so I've been in Riverside a long time. So I'm very, very familiar with what's happening at the local level, the state level, the county level, and I have many, many backgrounds in performing arts where my high school friends are still available. So yes, I think I would be able to handle it since I even raised triplets.
Thank you, Rita.
Thanks.
Greg, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's fine. Thank you. My experience falls into two basic categories. One, earlier I mentioned that I was in a commercial insurance broker for almost 50 years in Los Angeles, and I constructed risk management and finance programs for the Fortune 500 companies. That was what we did. Those kind of companies have deductibles larger than the net worth of this association. So it's just a lot of dollars changing hands, and there's banks involved. And it was a very intricate process, but a lot of learning went into that. My second is more local. You know, I've been on the finance and dredge committees for 2 years. And as I've mentioned, the finance committee was an awakening for me and saw how this place really works. But one of my emerging campaign mottos is there's no substitute for experience. And in Canyon Lake, I've been on 2 committees. I think I really know how this, the finances work. I'm following Renee's business model by trying to move from the finance committee up to the board. Thank you.
All right. Bill?
You don't need to repeat the question. So as I said in my opening statement, I have a lot of company experience, and I've managed companies anywhere from $6 million in size to $250 million in size. And I've had investment budgets within those companies that are larger than the annual budget of our POA. So I understand how to do that. More importantly, in the last company that I founded and created, it was a company focused on law enforcement and cybersecurity. And we did a lot of security for some interesting organizations. We provided security for 7 Super Bowls, where we integrated all of the law enforcement from national level to state and local levels as well. And it was very exciting. We also did the security for Pope Francis when he came to Washington, D.C., which is, again, from a personal standpoint, very, very rewarding. On the HOA board that I was a member of for 10 years, we managed budgets over that 10-year period where dues did not increase more than 10%. And so again, my committee experience helps me understand how things run in Canyon Lake.
Thank you. All right.
By the way, you guys are doing
Oh, you're
great.
killing. He's not needed. He's fired. You guys are just killing it.
We appreciate the hand moment.
Yeah, the hand thing's working out good. I was going to make him wear yellow gloves, but I think he's good. So, all right, moving on to another question from the audience. Are you aware of how much time you will need to spend on POA commitments if you are elected? Please explain what you think those commitments will be. Again, for those of you in the audience, because I know, when I read your question, you're like, oh yeah, that one's mine, and then it's edited. I'm bringing a bunch of questions together that, folks are asking. So to kick us off, Bill, I'm going to let you take it away on this one.
Yeah, sure. So the average, it's stated by prior board members, I think it's going to take, 700 hours over 2 years. It comes down to about 60 hours a month. And so do I understand it? Yes. I finished, I completed my service with my last company 4 years ago, and I've been consulting and advising the Cal State Fullerton Business School and students as a mentor for the last 4 years. I ended all those activities last year rather. And so I have time to give back to the community. I've been told personally that actions speak louder than words. And so one of the things I've set out to do during this campaign is to get out and meet with as many clubs, as many members of the board, as many members of the community as possible. And in fact, over the last 32 or 3 days since we started our candidacy, I've had 56 meetings and events that I've attended with people. I've spent over 110 hours in that month. And so, yes, I understand what it takes, and I hope I've demonstrated through my actions that I will be able to fulfill that need.
Bill, thank you so much. Greg?
Bill, actually, my notes say it's 728 hours per year, not every 2 years. So that's a lot.
Who's got a calculator? We'll figure this
So
out.
He's a finance guy.
in a nutshell, 3 words, I'm retired. I do not have a full-time job. What keeps me busy is 4 grandkids who unfortunately don't live that close, and a couple of hobbies. I can put all of those things aside when necessary to do the job that I've got to do for the POA. And I think that's something, and I said this in one of my responses to Donna's Facebook page, this is really important for you to consider, if the time commitment, because if you can't do the time, then you can't really stay on top of what's going on here and make wise decisions for the board. So I think that's my biggest asset actually, is that I'm retired and I can do the job. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. I thought you were going to say if you can't do the time, you can do the crime, but you didn't go that way. So thought you were. You were right there. Alexis, do you need me to repeat the question? Okay.
I certainly have the time commitment available. I actually probably will be saving some time based on what I'm doing now. I'm the president of the Women's Club, and that's going to be ending July 1st is when I will be replaced. And I'm currently on the ACC, which requires typically a full day from like 7:30 in the morning, sometimes till 5 on one day a week, plus a day of preparing for that as well. So I'm actually probably going to have free time. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm willing to do whatever is necessary to serve the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony?
Thank you. So I am not doing this because I have time. And I want to be clear about that I am not retired. I do own a business, and that I feel that this is very important. It's not only important for me, but it's important for my kids, and it's important for peers to see that you can do this and have a job. You can. Maybe not a job, but it's important that you make time for your hometown. And that's something that I feel that is honorable, and I'd love to have the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Tony. Rita?
Yes, I would have plenty of time. One of the things that I've been able to do throughout my life is create time. Like I said, I raised triplets. If you can live through that, and you're able to get organized. I'm very organized when it comes to time. I am, again, retired, and I have the ability to pick and choose what I want to spend my time on. And so therefore, I feel very fortunate to be able to have that type of option. I feel it's, at least for me, at least 5 hours a day I would donate to the Canyon Lake, just for outside information or anything, to be there for the community as I was for my own family. So that is something that's easy for me, is creating time.
Thank you, Rita. All right, moving on to the next question. I think everyone can relate to this question. I'll set this one up. We are seeing an increase in crime and vandalism, often by minors, destruction of property. We have a curfew on the books for minors between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. The question for each and every one of you, we'll start with Greg, is what are your thoughts and plans, if elected, to address our security? Would you support increase in fines?
Well, let me give you my overview of security. Like I said before, nobody in this room knows everything. And I am not an ex-law enforcement officer or an expert in security. But there are plenty of people in this community that are and are passionate about that subject. A lot of them were at the board meeting a couple of weeks ago, very passionate. So what I propose is to reenact, resurrect, and empower a new security committee, which used to exist, but for some reason was dissolved, to come up with solutions to our security issues and things such as fines, and bring the greatest minds together and bring those best ideas as quickly as possible to the board, again, for a vote and yes or no passage vote. That's how we're going to get that job done.
Thank you, Greg. Rita?
Once again, that is a session that I'm able to do. I've been on the Criminal Justice Committee for Riverside Advisory Board for almost 30 years. Have helped make a lot of changes, and I'm very aware. I work with the prison systems. I work with the thing. As far as our children goes, I've been an instructor working with children all my life. And so I understand, and I do think that I'm seeing 10-year-olds in some cases breaking the law. That's a dangerous way, like with the bicycles going down handicap ramps and, just regular 10-year-old, a little bit more advanced than when I was 10. Yes, I think the fees should be addressed to the parents and brought attention. And I'm also hoping we could have some kind of neighborhood watch where we feel it's safe to report things and not be accused of different things, but also to see all neighbors work together for our children.
Thank you, Rita. Tony?
All right, my thoughts on security is that it does need work. And I think that we've looked over, I've looked at the history of what our security is, and we have changed security companies multiple times. I think you look at any business and organization that has high turnover, which we do in the security department, we start to look inward at what guidance we're providing our security companies. This is not only the guidance from POA, but the guidance from the city and a collaborative effort on what we expect, because at the end of the day, just like any field day, we can only expect what we inspect. And I think that a lot of times we chalk things up to, well, we paid them. They should do a great job. But what are we doing to motivate our security company to do a good job for us? Do they respect us as we come through the gates? Do they feel that they're proud to work here? And I think that's one thing that we can definitely look at. My experience in operations is that you take care of your team and your team will take care of you.
Thank you, Tony. Alexis?
Yes, I've actually talked to a couple of professionals about the security issues we have here and trying to become more knowledgeable. And they had a few suggestions about having patrolled security where we actually have somebody driving around. And I know that our current patrol doesn't have a lot of authority, and there's a lot of people that don't respect them. And I understand that. So I think that when we had the meeting with the EVMWD and the city, I was very interested and excited about the fact that we may have code enforcement help us with this issue as well. I think other than just finding the parents, I think the children that are doing the deeds need to clean up the deed and also have community service, because that's how they're going to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, thank you. Based on my experience in this field, I believe we need multiple layers of defense. So I'm proposing a 5-point plan to do this. The first is we need to work jointly with the city to put an additional officer in our community. And we have two options. One, Mayor Smith, you outlined this as the joint committee, is to use code enforcement to help with misdemeanor citations. There's another option we have, which is we can employ off-duty supplemental officers like we do on the holidays to add to it. That'll come at additional cost. Both of those put more officers in our community and allow them to handle misdemeanor citations and put more teeth and consequences into violations. Second, we need to hire a dedicated director of security with law enforcement experience in the community, reporting directly to the general manager. This person will have the responsibility for reviewing the operations control and holding them accountable. We need to reestablish the POA Security Committee with the professionals. We need to revitalize our neighborhood watch. And we need to create a private-public partnership with technology companies to take advantage of the unique fact that we're one of the 5 gated cities in California and take advantage of that.
You did it. You got all 5 of them in a minute, my friend. That was impressive. I'm going to ask each of you, it's just a yes or no answer. Alexis touched on it a little bit, but there's a second part to this question that wasn't really answered, but it just gets a yes or no. Okay, so Tony, we're going to start with you and work your way down. And that is, would you support increased fines with this particular question? Tony?
Yes, in some instances. Am I allowed to?
No, that part didn't come out. I just heard the word yes. The rest was
Yes,
muted.
okay, very good.
Greg?
Yes.
Rita?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes, and. I like Alexa's idea too.
Alexis?
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you. All right, we are going to do, we maybe get two in before we get a potty break. All right, so next question. This one's really good. As most of you know, inflation's on a rise, fuel is high, milk is up, groceries are up 40%. So the question that's being asked this evening is, if we were to enter into a recession, how would you handle that as a decision maker for the POA? Got the question? Alexis, I'm gonna start with you.
I would think I would consider perhaps maybe limiting the big investments that we're putting in back into the community, maybe put them on hold or do it over a longer period of time to get the construction or whatever it might be completed. And if necessary, maybe look at the due costs as what they are and see if there's any way we can cut the budget on some items.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Rita?
Well, first I would, probably, the word I want to use is I want to put it in order. What is the most important things that need to be taken care of? Just like any household, we would have to see what is the most important thing, like you mentioned, security. Do we want to cut that? No. But we would want to look at what we can cut in a recession and train people and make people aware of ways to cut back. Maybe have a garden.
Thank you, Rita. Tony?
Can you repeat the question?
Of course. If we were to enter into a recession, how would you handle that as a decision maker for the POA?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that every household is aware that we are on a potential pending recession. And I think it's a great time for any household that is foreseeing this kind of effort. Is cash is king, right? We need to look at our short-term investments and make decisions based on, is that a good idea right now? We should keep our road reserves in a good condition, and all of the reserves that we will need, not just to keep our dues from not increasing throughout a recession. That would be a terrible thing to happen. But we definitely need to prepare ourselves. And you know, this preparation should have already be starting, being that we are seeing inflation kind of a bit out of control.
Thank you, Tony. Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe we have to prioritize our investments is the key thing, right? We're gonna have to look for efficiencies within our current operation. I think bottom line, what we need to do is when we have a recessionary environment, we need to manage the costs such that they are at or below the cost of living increases that are going on. So again, the primary focus is we don't want to price people out. We've got young families that are coming into the community. We've got retired seniors that are here, and we need to keep their priorities and interests in mind as we go through these tough times. Again, having a strong financial background is key to that.
Thank you. Greg?
You know, in the Finance Committee, we deal with this question every time we meet. And it's very difficult to predict the future. Now, we may have a recession and we may have a mild recession, and we may not have any recession. But when we get together in the Finance Committee, we wrestle with this, like I said, every time. And we try to deal with the here and now with a little bit, as best we can, with our best crystal ball about what's going to happen in the future. It's a balance, and it's not a perfect balance. It never will be, but we do the best we can with that difficult question. And it's top of mind in the Finance Committee, I can tell you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All right, moving on to our next question. Bill, I'm going to start off with you. How long have each of you, Bill, how long have you lived in Canyon Lake? And if you can change one thing, what would it be?
I've been a property owner for 13 years, but I have lived here for 6 years. And the one thing I would change in Canyon Lake is our security. I think we need more accountability with community patrol. We need to augment the community patrol. As Tony and others have said, we've changed companies a number of times. I don't believe changing companies is the answer. We need a change in approach, right? And that's where I outlined very quickly my 5 points on what I think we can do. But I think security and safety is absolutely the critical factor that we need to change here.
Thank you, Bill. Greg? You guys can clap. That's okay. I want to make sure there's people behind me.
We have lived here for 7 years. We're in our second house on the lake. And the one thing that I would change is I wish when I moved here, the roads were better, in particular, the road that we live on now. But guess what? That's being fixed. We're due in phase one. We're going to get our road fixed in May. And that's just so delightful to see the POA take those funds that are put in reserve for that exact purpose and put out to fix these roads, which are, everyone agrees are in horrible shape. And that's the job that the POA is doing on the roads and the road reserves is getting done in front of my house. And I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Rita?
Well, we've been an owner since 1974, have built our first house on Cruz Circle in 1988 when we moved in. And actually, we lost that house during 2008, so I understand recessions. And so we've had about 5 homes in Canyon Lake, now located off of Yosemite and Giant Fir, where our park's going to end. And so basically, I'm very aware of a lot of people, even through the ministry. I know most of the churches here. I know most of the pastors. And I have a lot of one-on-one with people. So I'm very, very aware of how our community, from the inside out, you might say.
Rita, thank you so much. Alexis?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Of course. How long have you lived in Canyon Lake? And if you could change one thing, what would that be?
I've lived here almost 8 years, and I probably would, the security is my biggest issue as a woman. I have a lot of friends that are widowed or divorced, and that's their biggest concern as well, because I think it's more for a woman feeling that need as, personally, more so than a man may. That's my biggest concern. Another concern of mine is the youth and the destruction that's being caused by them. And I think that needs to stop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And yep, you can clap. Tony, finish us off.
Thank you. I've lived here for 2 years, and absolutely one of the things that I would like to change, and this is something that has been changing over the last decade, is the average age of our homeowners. One thing that I would like to see is a change in who those get involved, right? We want to see those that get involved that represent a lot of the working class, that represent a lot of the people that are only here on weekends and only get to enjoy this. I think it's no fault to their own that they don't understand this community. It's an unfortunate thing that if they want to find out about this community, they need to do it Monday through Friday during working hours. So maybe we can change some of that. That's one thing that I would love to see.
Thank you, Tony. All right. We're blessed that each and every one of you are running. We have some really good people. So it's just so nice to hear these people clap for you. And you guys are giving such great answers tonight. So thank you for being so transparent and just, hearing us out on some of these questions. I'm going to ask one more, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break. So here is that question. It is, what values do you have that made you want to run for the POA Board of Directors? Rita, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I'll quote Jennifer Lopez, enough. I've been here, I can do all kinds of things as far as having fun, but I cannot stand the world that our young people are facing. I feel like we're handing them all of our problems and they're left. So I wanted to get back in the ball game, so to speak, because as a mother, grandmother, and now a great-grandmother, I want a better world.
Thank you, Rita. Bill?
What values? I would say the primary value is giving back. I'm fortunate to be at a point in my life where I've done a lot of things, but now I'm at the point where my mission is to give back to the community, and I can do that, and I can do that through engagement, I can do that, and I believe I will do that with integrity. And so when I engage and I tell you I'm going to do something, I'll follow through, and I'll be open and honest about it. Sometimes I make mistakes. We all do, and where I do, I will own up to it and apologize and move on.
Thank you, Bill. Alexis?
I have a servant's heart. I've volunteered since I was probably 10. So I really enjoy our community. I would like to I want to be able to serve the community and make things better than they already are, and do whatever it takes to do so, and however many hours it takes to do so. I just really am thankful that I live here, and I'm thankful for all the amenities we have, and I just look forward to I would be honored to serve as a board member.
Thank you. All right, Tony.
My values have always been, taught in very early, that are honor, courage, and commitment. And I think those things, three to come together, it's an honorable thing to serve on a board and give your time to your community. The commitment that it does take is not taken lightly, and it's not just a commitment that I serve by myself. My family will stand beside me to do this. And I think it's really important to also, be the change that you want to see. And this is something I've always really stood behind and wanted to make sure that, I'm not just speaking these things. I use my actions to also follow up what I actually say as well.
Thank you, Tony. Greg?
In my profession as a commercial insurance broker, honesty and integrity were very important. The saying goes, in any profession really, your word is your bond. And I learned that early on. And I learned also to never tell you something that I know you wanted to hear, but I knew to be untrue. That's not my DNA, and that'll follow me to the board. Now, the other thing that I've learned, and again, back to my committee work, is I've served on 2 committees, learned how they work, and I'm going to take a combination of those values that I've learned over the years in my business and the skills and the traits from the committees, and take those and combine them for my board work, and I'm happy to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All right, we're going to take right around a 10-minute break. It is 7:23. Let's come back at 7:35. Thank you. Good job, guys.
That's fun.
Man, another good question. Okay, everyone seated? Are we good?
How's everyone up there feeling?
Everyone doing all right? You guys are doing
Very well.
phenomenal. Seriously, give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. All right, this one's a good question. Let me see. Here's the note, and I love this note. Canyon Lakes looks like an RV storage lot. I'm just going to leave it right there, ... So the question is this: what will you do about enforcing rules regarding vehicles and RVs parking on streets and driveways? Yeah, let's take it. Let's start off with Bill.
So enforcing the rules is one of the 2 functions of our community patrol. They have 2 jobs. One is enforce the rules. The other one is to patrol POA common facilities. And so we need more accountability associated with our community patrol. And that's, again, one of the things I suggested. I want to have a director of security reporting directly to the general manager, who will be responsible for that contract with community patrol, can take feedback from the community regarding violations that the community may see, and hold them accountable for the results that they're performing.
Thank you, Bill. Rita?
Well, since I've lived here, it's been very difficult for people that own RVs on when they want to load them, unload them. I think we should be a little bit more lax on the time that they have to use the street if they need to. I know I live in a very small street, and large RVs just don't work. And they should take consideration of the houses, because each house, like my house, I could park 30 cars up there. So it's not a problem for me. But so many that want to have RVs should be explained what is expected for individuals. So each person should have a right to defend their situation.
Thank you, Rita. Alexis?
Since I'm on the ECC committee, I think that they're pretty lenient with the rules. I mean, they give them a certain time frame to move them. Because we don't have any streetlights, it's dangerous sometimes when the vehicles are not marked or they don't have reflectors on them. So parking in the street for a long period of time could cause major accidents. And I really feel as though they do have rules as far as the RVs not being extending past the driveway area. And that needs to be upheld because people could not see it driving if they're, close to the road, because some of the roads here are quite narrow. So, this is a recreation vehicle environment. People have boats, they have RVs and whatever. So it is a consideration that needs to be talked about and worked on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony?
All right, can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. I like the note. That's the best part. The Canyon Lake looks like an RV storage lot. All right. Enforcing rules regarding vehicles and RV parking on streets and driveways. What do you think? How are you going to help if elected? What's your plan?
Okay, cool. So I want to touch on the driveway. If anybody says anything about anything in my driveway, I think that's definitely overstepping the bounds of what's in my driveway. Now, when I cause a problem or an issue to the public by parking my RV in the street for a certain amount of times, I think I'm excessively using the rules that are allowed, 100%. This is a recreational place. We do enjoy toys. We do enjoy RVs. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have them, but what's in your driveway is yours. What's in the street is affecting others. And at no point should we try and take anybody's freedoms away by saying you can't have an RV in your driveway. Streets, totally fair game, though. Abide by the rules that are there.
Thank you, Tony. Greg?
When we were considering moving here, my sister-in-law, who had been here for several years, Julie's sister, said, well, you'll like this place, but we have a lot of rules. We moved into our house, and the next day, we were cited and fined by the POA for some fountain we had in our front yard that was somehow not installed properly or something. So yeah, the story ended, it had a happy end, it was fine. But yeah, we have a lot of rules. With respect to the RVs and those types of things, I don't own an RV, but if we have rules, as Bill said, they ought to be enforced. If somebody or some group of individuals that own RVs think those rules are not fair, there's a process for changing those rules to suit those people and the whole community. So I see that as an enforcement issue, number one. Let's enforce the rules we have. And two, if we want to change them, there's a process to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. All right, moving on to our next question. As most of you might know, the median age group now in Canyon Lake is between 42 and 45. We have more kids in this community than we ever have before. In fact, we have one of our nonprofit organizations, the president of CLEAR here. So there's a lot of things happening in the community that's changing for our youth. So the question that's being asked tonight is what youth programs will you support? I'm going to start it off with Greg.
Well, again, I have grandkids, but I am certainly sympathetic to the changes in the demographics of this community. On my block alone, the two houses right across the street in the past 18 months have changed from older people that had left the community to two young families, each with two young children with the parents working from home. Those kids need something to do after school and on the weekends. And I see emerging a lot of groups and people that want to do something about this. Now, I have not joined any of those, to be honest, but I do see a need for those, and I'll support those as I see fit, because I do see what's happening in this community. It's changing. I told someone earlier, I think it's changing more quickly now than it has in the last 53 years. We need to stay on top of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Tony?
Yeah, so my kids actually did participate in the CLEAR. They both made it, by the way. So we're super stoked that, some of these things are coming on. I think there needs to be more. I'd love we're a huge supporter of the Little League. We're a sponsor, by the way, as well. I'd love to see more of these programs be brought up. And it takes community members like yourself and myself to really drive forward and do these things. I'm all for anyone who wants to, get a collaborative group of kids together and do something great.
Thank you, Tony. Alexis?
Having been a Girl Scout leader for 13 years and a Sunday school teacher, I know the importance of having the youth involved. We do have a lot of organizations here at the moment. Little League is one of them. There's some golf programs and tennis programs. And I believe there may even be a pickleball program. I'm not sure. I know the Scouts are active here. And local churches have programs as well. What I'd like to do is maybe form a group of like a committee where people who could teach the children trades like, repairing a golf cart and other things like this, painting, carpentry, sewing. There's so many talented people here that could give back to the kids as well. And I'd love to have that happen.
Thank
Thank
you. Bill?
One of the reasons Carol and I chose to retire here was because we like the blend of families that we have in the community. We chose not to go to a 55 and older community because it's the young people that keep us young, right? And so we enjoy that. I grew up in the Midwest in a small town, and I was fortunate to be able to ride my bike around town and also to go visit friends and to, and to go to parks and so forth. So keeping a safe community is certainly the most important thing we can do for our youth. And our priority needs to be on ensuring the success, how to create a culture of success for our children of our community. As Alexa said, there's many activities. The Bassmasters have a fishing derby, the pickleball, the golf, the tennis programs all have kid things. And we need to continue to encourage all of our groups to be able to do that. I'd like to see us supplement that with maybe a summer program for our kids where we can have games and activities where they can gather again in a safe place and have things to do, maybe a night ranger program and so forth. But in the end, the children are our future, and it's important for us to be stewards of the children for the future.
Thank you, Bill. Rita?
Well, the main reason I decided to run for the board was because of our children and young adults. I work as a specialist in suicide prevention, and unfortunately, especially our teens, we're seeing too much of that. And so therefore, what I want to do is encourage people, something like, are you aware of the library? Are you aware that there's outdoor sports? We need to kind of balance all this technology and only entertainment, and only thing they deal with is with technology and history. I think we need to teach history. So having programs that will focus on that. Plus, I also work with the county to help the city of Canyon Lake.
Thank you, Rita.
Mhm.
All right, next question. Bill, I'm going to let you start off with this one. As most of you know, the general manager makes several decisions and brings policy to the board. How do you feel that the current relationship between the POA board and the general manager is?
In my opinion, the current relationship seems to be pretty good. The one thing I want to say about a board, and the reason I asked the question for the other board members, is the responsibility of a board is to represent these stakeholders, right? And that's our homeowners and so forth. And is to represent the stakeholders and shareholders or homeowners and hold the corporation accountable. And so in essence, the general manager reports to the board for that. It's important to have a good working relationship, a positive and healthy working relationship, so that you can get things done effectively. And so how is the current board doing it? I think it's been healthy. I think we need to continue that. Along those same lines, I think we need to go further as the current POA board has done. And that's continuing to have these joint city council, water district and POA board meetings. I think that is so critical for our future to work together with everyone.
Thank you, Bill. Alexis?
I agree with what Bill is saying. I think that I was very happy when I went to the EVMWB, the city and the POA meeting, to see everybody working together as a team, because to be bickering amongst each other and have issues with lawsuits and whatever makes it very strenuous from the homeowners and the community. So I think if we work together, and I agree working with members is crucial because it makes them feel like they're heard And I think a lot of times they don't feel that way. And so I would welcome anybody asking me anything, and if I can help any of the clubs or whatever, I certainly would do so. And I think what I see from being at the POA a lot is that they appear to be getting along quite fine. And I appreciate that, and I hope that continues. Thank you.
Absolutely. Greg?
You're talking about Eric and Eric Kazakov, and I've had some personal dealings with him one-on-one on some one or two issues. And I've seen and heard a lot of feedback about his performance and interaction with the board. And everything I see myself and I hear from people is excellent. I believe he's on board for 5 years, and he's a real gem in this community. Now, he does report to the board, but I understand in years past that a new board comes in and the first thing they do is fire the general manager. Well, that hasn't happened in 5 years. There's something to be said for that, I believe, just on appearances. So I think Eric is a really good guy, and he's doing a great job. Now, there's someone you've not mentioned, which is our new controller. I say new, she's been on board several years, but I've had the pleasure of working with her, Susan, and she is also excellent. She's bringing the finances of this community, bringing a new accounting system and all sorts of things that improve the information that we get on the finance committee to make good decisions. So they're both good people. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Tony?
Well, without putting my foot in my mouth, I would like to say how a board is supposed to work and how a general manager is supposed to report to that board. And ultimately, the general manager and the operation does work for the board. That is how it works. I do believe that the relationship is healthy and currently going in a good direction. But it's important that we do need to maintain that is how a board works, that is how this is supposed to run. And as the board, we need to just maintain and understand that this is a collaborative relationship with a common goal of getting this community together and continuing to grow while being fiscally responsible.
Thank you, Tony. Rita?
Basically, I agree with what everyone has said, and I do agree that communication between city, POA, and community is the key to any successful. I grew up in a military home, and you took the information you needed, and if everybody functions according to their job, so therefore we have a successful unit of people that are working together as a team, not fighting or prejudice or anything.
Thank you. All right. Maybe there's some fireworks in this question. So here we go. This will be good. In years past, when you received your ballot, you could vote for yourself multiple times. Now that is not the case. So who will you be voting for and why?
We're going to take a 30-minute break.
Dun. All right, Rita, I'm going to start off with you.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit prejudiced. I kind of think we need some women on the job. So I'm definitely promoting Alexis. And as far as myself, I'm going to be, whatever happens, I'm happy because I'm here to support whether I win in the community or if anyone else that wins in this community, to support them fully.
Thank you, Rita. Well done. Bill?
That's an easy question. First of all, I respect everyone on this community. I think we have a good slate of candidates that bring a lot. Alexis, as a woman and as a longtime volunteer in this community, Tony from the youth perspective, Rita from her experience in helping the community, and Greg on the finance. For me, where we're going as a community and the environment we're heading into, I think we need to have, again, a strong financial background. And I think it's important to have people that have worked on committees and have that fundamental understanding. So from that standpoint, other than I would vote for Greg Doherty.
Thank you, Bill. Tony?
Thank you for asking that question. That's quite a wonderful one. And to be fair, I don't think that I've gotten to have my full choice yet. I'd like to actually sit through this whole thing and decide if that's okay.
Wow, you sound like a politician there, Tony. Well done. Alexis?
Can I plead the fifth?
Of course you can if you would like. But there's people behind me that want to hear you speak on it, so.
Well, I haven't decided on the second. Of course, we're gonna vote for me. I think I'm fully qualified, and I'm looking forward to serving the community. And we're the other ones still out for determination. So, thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
Well, like Bill said, that's an easy question. But when you drive around this community, 90% of the time you'll see my sign and his sign together. And people wonder, well, why is that? Well, what happened was Bill and our wives got together about 2 months ago and had dinner and went over the whole matter of running for board together. Now, we're not a ticket, as I've tried to explain so many times. We're not a ticket in a sense of a traditional political ticket, but we're supporting each other. And the reason we decided to do that is Bill's got a little bit different background than I do. As you've heard tonight, he has a terrific security background, which is a huge issue in this community right now. And I have more of a finance background, and the committee, the finance committee, has focused my skills in that area with respect to Canyon Lake. So obviously I'm supporting Bill, and I think we, as Bill said also, we have a fine slate of candidates here, and I wish them all well.
Can we give them a round of applause? That is awesome. You guys should be very proud of yourself. Not only are you very transparent, but also it's a tough question. And the fact that you answered it the way you did, it really shows how blessed we are as a community to have you running for the POA board. So I just want to say thank you. Seriously, awesome job. All right, I didn't write this question, but I should have, because this is a good one. How do you see yourself as a board member collaborating with the city? I'm going to let Tony take it away.
So I've been fortunate enough that there is Zoom and it does exist, and I've actually had the opportunity to sit on most of the board meetings. I did not make them all. I will not claim that. I think that the collaboration that has happened between the city and the board over the last year has been greater than it has ever been. This is actually one of the biggest things that has inspired me to get onto the board, to continue this relationship, because we have a weird little community here and how this is managed. Inside the gates, outside the gates, patrolling the BLM areas. We've have a lot of things that we need collaboration on, and I believe that this needs to continue. How do we plan on continuing that? By communicating and doing this often. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Greg?
I built a deck at my home recently, and I had to go through 2 separate entities to get that thing built. And one was the ACC, and they were very helpful and cooperative. And then there was the city. And I always wondered, well, why are there 2 separate entities governing this construction? And so that led me to believe that there probably should be, in general, not just on decks, but in general, there should be more collaboration between the city and the POA. The city has a small police department. That leads us to the question of security. I think maybe the city could be part of our security, the soft security issue that we've discussed tonight. So I do think there should be more coordination in several areas. They're a great bunch of people, and they could help us a lot, and we could help them. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Rita?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Absolutely. How do you see yourself as a board member collaborating with the city?
Well, one, I've been in charge ever since I can remember. Growing up as a teacher, I've been in profession of many different companies. I've always had to take the lead. I was a single mom. I was totally in charge of all that. So I understand the position of being professional. Now at home, I'm a little different. My Italian comes out. And so as a professional, I have worked in crisis most of my life. I've even lost family in 911 and aware of what crisis is like. So you have to be a professional and very, in my case, it was military training.
Thank you. Alexis?
Could you please repeat the question?
Of course. How do you see yourself as a board member collaborating with the city?
Well, since a lot of the board member or a lot of the city council people are personal friends of mine, I would think that I would do quite well. I try to get along with everyone, and be at peace with all man, as the good book says. But I actually look forward to it. And I really think that the idea of having the ACC and especially for new builds and decks like Greg did, collaborate it so it's not such a tedious process for people to get things started and accomplished and permits pulled. I'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
Awesome. Bill?
I think any board, everyone on the board brings strengths. And I'm going to divert just for a moment to our current board of directors. Tim Cook brings a great strength in contracting. Brian brings a great strength in legal matters. Renee brings a great strength in finance. If I was fortunate to represent this community, I think I could bring it on security. I think all of us need to bring strengths to the community where we can work together to leverage each other's strengths on that. I think that also continues with the city. I think there's opportunities for us to work together with the city, and by working together, we are stronger. I think the opportunities for that are in security. I think there's opportunities for efficiencies in the building department. And I think there's opportunities for us in terms of raising revenues for the city overall, because again, between the city and the POA, it's not one or the other. We are Canyon Lake.
Love it. Thank you. Good job. All right, moving on to our next question. We've talked about the idea of a recession. We talked about, the current climate that we're in regards to financials and how gas prices are on the rise. So the question's very simple, and that is, will you increase the dues? It's just that simple, right? It's just, will you increase the dues? I wish it was that simple. Greg, will you take this one away for me?
Well, it's not that simple. And here, I'm going to reframe your question, if I may. The question should be
Take away 30 seconds.
should be more along the lines of, if you got a recommendation from the Finance Committee to adjust the fees, and notice I didn't say up, down, or flat. I said adjust the fees. Would you follow the recommendation of the Finance Committee as a board member? And my answer, based on my experience, is probably yes, because we do a lot of work in that Finance Committee, hundreds and hundreds of hours over the course of the year, getting numbers from the departments up to the committee, crunching them, forming up the operating budget, and presenting it to them in March. It's a long process, but it works. So it's not a matter of will you increase the fees, it's a matter of will you follow the recommendation of people that have put hundreds of hours into this job, into this task. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Alexis?
I would like to, I know that the fees will have to be increased because of inflation. There's no getting away from it. I'd like to keep them minimally only because of the cost of living and what it is now. Maybe a way of doing that would be on some of the projects that are in the works, perhaps staggering those out for a little bit further, setting the goal of the completion at a later date, so that we financially can make sound decisions and solutions to the issues that we have. But they inevitably are going to raise. I would just like to have them raise, just to keep in mind of people with fixed incomes and older, people and people with small children. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
So nobody is a fan of increasing dues. I think we can all agree on that. But we are aware of our current climate, and it is important that as a board member that you trust that we are making the best decision possible based on quite a bit of good information from the hard work from the Finance Committee. Kind of topping on top of Greg here is that, we have these tools. These tools are given to us to make the best decisions possible. And you can trust that the best decision will be made.
Thank you. Bill?
I'll give you an honest and direct answer, and that is it depends. It really depends on the environment we're in. I won't tell you we will not raise them ever, because the POA has 150 employees, right, to do everything that we're run all the amenities. If we were to hold dues constant, that means no raises for employees. It means cutting services. It means cutting amenities. And I think in doing that, we not only decrease the quality of the life we have here, I believe it will impact our property values as well. And so I think the responsible thing to do is to manage costs within or below the cost of living or inflation rate, and just apply sound financial management in making the tough decisions.
Thank you, Bill. Rita?
Well, pretty much I agree with everyone on the fact that it has to be adjusted according to the needs of the community. So therefore, it would be an open suggestion and saying, maybe have feedback on how people feel about that. Again, just making sure everybody's aware of the reasons why we have to charge more or whatever.
Thank you, Rita. All right. We're going to start off with Tony on this one. What are your thoughts on DoorDash drivers not having to be called in? Currently or recently, one was called in by someone and admitted my name. What's your thoughts on this?
I am an avid DoorDash user, by the way. No, I totally agree that there's actually a huge gap here. There's something that does need to be looked at because, I've done this style of work as well, and typically you're not the only one getting food that night on your call-in. So how do we manage that? That's a tough one that we're going to have to look into, and it's a commitment. Do you want DoorDash? Do you not want DoorDash? I mean, right now we don't have a great policy in place to manage this, and it's a problem that we need to address with security. We need to talk to them. I would like it if we had, if you have multiple calls that is divulged at that time, saying, hey, we're going to be here. But right now we're not even asking.
Thank you, Tony. Alexis?
I hadn't heard of the issues they were having with the DoorDash and them calling you in, Jeremy. But I think that I'm almost thinking even the homeowners, if somebody gets ticketed or if they use the amenities, they come in, they deliver if they deliver, because they can say they're DoorDash. Nobody's saying, let me see what you're delivering, I'm sure. But maybe they need to show ID. Or maybe we still need to call them in, because if it becomes an issue, then maybe what we're doing currently isn't working that well. So
Thank you.
that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Rita?
Well, I'm going to be honest, I'm not familiar with the term DoorDash. Basically, I'm understanding it is to be where safety and deliveries. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're on it.
Okay, then I understand. I agree that there is a problem. I've had things stolen from individuals that have delivered, and minor things, but still, I know that happens. I do think we need to at least not let everybody in without some kind of a pass.
Thank you, Rita. To answer your question, DoorDash is a sexy version of FedEx or UPS. So, Greg, the question's yours.
I thought it was a food delivery.
I am not an avid DoorDash user, Tony. Don't hold that against me, but I am against that. I just think it's another chink in the security armor that we've discussed so much tonight. And I think that there ought to be a better way. Maybe there's a technological solution that these drivers could get some sort of QR code or something very easily from the homeowner resident member, and it would work that way. I'm not exactly sure the solution. I'm against it because I think it's something, again, another chink in the security armor.
Thank you so much, Greg. Bill?
Whether it's DoorDash or other delivery capable, I've done it myself where I can call them in and say, this company is coming in, and I'll usually put car driver as the first and last name, at least to get them in. I do believe anytime they come in that they should be able to report that if they're doing multiple residences, I'm going to A, B, and C, they should be able to do that, and the guard can check it and get it in. So I do think, while it may be a bit of an inconvenience, I think from a security standpoint, we do have to have some accountability and visibility into those deliveries.
Thank you, Bill. All right, moving right along. We had several folks enter a card with this question. Very simple. Just give an example of your community involvement. Rita, I'm going to start with you.
Well, like I brought out earlier that if I didn't get involved with you on-one, I've talked to a lot of people one-on-one, either through business, which is like my cosmetology when I was doing that, building your house, ministry. I have a lot of contact with people within the church units. I work through the county. I'm aware of a lot of things that are happening right inside Canyon Lake. I'm fortunate to be married to someone that's a 7th-generation Californian, and he can tell you every ounce of what's happening in Canyon Lake. So I do have a lot of insight on what is happening with our individual people, because I prefer one-on-one.
Thank you, Rita. Bill?
When I'm not campaigning and meeting with people one-on-one, I'm a member of the facilities planning committee, and that committee meets for 2 hours every month. I'm also a member of the finance and facilities subcommittee. That one goes more frequently. We typically meet weekly, but it's only towards the budgetary season on things. From a pleasure standpoint, my wife and I are both involved in pickleball. We're involved in tennis. We use the golf facility as well. We frequent our restaurants, both the Lighthouse and the Clubhouse. We're members of the Fine Arts Guild. I'm a member of the Veterans and First Responders group, the Canyon Lake Association of Men, and so forth. And so, again, I do believe that engagement is an important thing, and we're out there. And you know what? And we've gotten so much from meeting all the people. That's, I think, what makes this place so special.
Thank you, Bill. Greg?
You know, the one-on-one's been very rewarding for me as this campaign's gone along. And people say the funniest things. I was talking to a lady at the dog park one night, and I said, you know, the front gate that they did the remodeling several years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, doesn't that look great? And her response was, it looks like a prison. So people say the funniest things, but truthfully and seriously, I've learned a lot talking one-on-one to people. I've knocked on several doors and learned some things. My wife and I are members of the Car Club, the Yacht Club, the Fine Arts Guild, and the Pickleball Club. My wife is the social director of the Pickleball Club, and I think that makes me the assistant social director of the Pickleball Club. I'm not really sure. But we love this community. We made a lot of great friends, and we want to keep it that way. And hopefully I can get on the board and keep it rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Alexis?
I've been very active since I moved here, and I was the yeoman for the Yacht Club. I've been I was secretary for the volleyball, the chair volleyball team and club, and then I've been on the Canyon Lake Women's Club as a board member for 5 years, and the last almost 2 years, I've served as the board president, and I'm very thankful to have had that opportunity. I was the social director for the travel club, so I did that for 4 years, and I'm very active in the community. My husband and I, are here frequently, and we're involved in the Clams men's group. And I'm again playing golf because I injured my shoulder, so I'm hoping to do that soon. So thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
Thank you. So most of my involvement circles around my children. My kids are 8 and 10. I have, my daughters did lessons for about a year in the equestrian center because it's about the only thing that was open. My son did golf lessons down at the golf course. I am an annual golf course member, as well as part of the men's club and the family golf club. I also volunteer on a reasonably regular basis with the Tuesday work group, and have really used obviously, we also serve about 200 customers in this community a month. Through that, I've been able to meet one-on-one with a substantial amount of community members. And of course, I take this time to get that feedback and do that stuff. This community, I spend about 100% of my income on community businesses here in Canyon Lake. And we also want to showcase those businesses through our podcast that we do weekly.
Thank you, Tony. All right, we're going to go ahead and ask a water question. Makes sense. We do live in Canyon Lake. Be careful, though, because our president, Darcy Burke, is probably listening. She couldn't be here this evening, so she's our water captain, so be careful how you answer this, not to scare you or anything. What can we do to reduce algae, especially in the East Bay? Bill, I'm going to let you start this thing off.
I met with Darcy as part of preparing for this election season. And I got to tell you, she's a tremendous representative for our community. And I think one of the most important members we have in the community. You know, we call this place Canyon Lake for a reason, right? It is our most important amenity that we have. And keeping it clean, remembering that it's a drinking water reservoir, and cooperating with the water district is really key. As far as the alum treatments, again, I think the key thing for us to do there is to follow the lead of the water district. I think they just scheduled some more alum treatments in the next week or so for us to do that. That helps, again, keep the algae down and so forth. And the other thing that's helpful is just boat traffic, right? As you get water movement, it helps as well. So.
Perfect. Rita?
Well, I'll be honest, that would be a question I would ask my husband, since he has a history here in Canyon Lake and is aware of and worked with the water departments in the past. And myself personally, that would be a question I would make sure I investigated and give the correct answer to that.
Thank you, Rita. Greg?
This sounds like a veiled question about dredging the lake, but let me speak first to this. I just read the Friday Flyer today, better late than never. And as Bill said, they are going to do an alum treatment starting next week or something like that. And in the 7 years we've been here, I've never seen the water clear. So it looks to me like that's working pretty well. Now, to the dredging issue, I'm on the dredge committee, and I've seen where the dredging of the lake is an extremely complicated, extremely expensive proposition. There's 783 square miles of watershed that drain into our lake from all that agriculture and dairy up there and all that nitrogen and other chemicals that they use. So we are their toilet. Now, and there's also the silt that's built up in there. So it is a long-term project that's going to require a public and private partnership and possibly some coordination by the POA to work with people that can actually get grants to make this dredging possible. So I think that's what the question might have been, and I hope I addressed it. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Tony?
So first and foremost, I am not a professional on algae and how it grows in the East Bay, but I do know it's pretty bad. So I'm from, our previous house was in Lake Elsinore, and we were pretty close to the water. Now, there was a huge difference when they put the aerators into the lake, huge, substantial. The smell went away, most of the algae went away, and the fish kills really stopped happening. I'd like to see this happen. I mean, you'd ask me if I support it. Yeah, I support it. I think there's quite a bit of people that need to be involved in order to make this happen. But hey, we're taking steps to the right. We're starting with recognizing the issue that there is algae here, that it does need to be cleaned up. But I would suggest to you and to your fellow residents to take care of the lake. Let's police others in saying, hey, stop throwing trash in there. We can take some of this on ourselves, and in the short term, that's our first step.
Thank you, Tony. Alexis, finish us off.
Yes, actually, I did a little bit of research on the lake, and I've also met with Darcy a number of times. And there is actually, the water is for dredging. What do you do with what do you do with the soil afterwards? Because it's contaminated with PFAS. And we have to, it's very important that we're very careful about the runoff that goes into the water. And because it is an asset and it is being leased. So we have to really be diligent about making sure that we do what's best for the environment, because it also is water that can be turned into drinking water. So we have to keep those things in and really preserve the lake, because it is our most important asset. that we have here.
Thank you. All right, last question, and then we're going to wrap it up with closing remarks. Greg, I'm going to start off with you on this last question for the evening. Will you support allowing motorcycles to come through Canyon Lake again?
I have heard it come up that there's talk about trying to allow electric motorcycles. I've also talked to many residents that have been here for 20 years and asked them what the overriding objection over the years has been to motorcycles. And it's the noise. They all said that. It's not the danger of the motorcycle, it's the noise. Well, electric motorcycles don't make noise. So maybe the question is, will we allow electric motorcycles? And the answer is, I don't know, because I haven't heard from enough of the community to know what the consensus would be. And maybe this is an issue, and this would also include, once again, the bringing up of the motorized real motorcycles allowed, to put it to a vote of the people. Maybe that's the best way to figure it out. Maybe the board would not guess right about how the community feels. Maybe a vote like the Sierra Park thing would be the best way to go on that.
Thank you, Greg. Alexis?
I have talked to numerous people, and numerous people have asked me that question. And most of it has all been the noise and perhaps racing down the streets. We already have a speed issue here in Canyon Lake with Canyon Lake Drive South and North, where people are doing 60 miles an hour on that road. And there's children here and golf carts, and it's extremely dangerous. And I think that needs to be addressed as well. With the noise factor, I mean, I don't personally care for motorcycles because of that issue myself. So I would think that I think it has gone before the members previously and been not sponsored well. They haven't, I think everyone, or not everyone, but a number of people, a number of members do not want to have it here. So I guess that's my answer.
Thank you so much. Tony?
So joining the board, I have one intention, and that one intention is to support what the community wants. I've owned motorcycles. I don't own a motorcycle now. I don't think I plan on owning one. But that being said, if the community, if we put this up to a vote again and we put it here again, I would support what the community wants based on a vote only. The noise, we can easily complain, and I'll be the first one to tell you that golf carts are loud. And then I live on Canyon Lake Drive South, so I do hear this. But what I hear more often is the fire department going by. So I'm not about to revolt against them. So, big supporter of whatever the community wants. I could go either way on it. Starting with electric is a great idea. Maybe that's our first step towards doing this thing. But it will take an overwhelming support. And I can tell you as of right now, it's an overwhelming support that Canyon Lake does not want motorcycles.
Thank you, Tony. Bill?
I differ in with my colleagues in that I don't believe noise is the issue. I believe speed is the issue. We live in a community, we don't have sidewalks, right? And so people are walking along the street, and particularly at night when it's dark and so forth, we have golf carts, bicycles, and so forth. And I believe the real issue with motorcycles is speed. As you see them outside our community, they white line down the roads and other things. And I believe it's a safety issue. This issue has come up with the community at least 3 times for a vote, and it requires a 2/3 majority of the homeowners to be able to ratify it. And each time it's fallen far short. So based on that, I would say, no, I'm not for it.
Thank you, Bill. Rita?
Yeah, I tend to believe that if there was any type of motorcycles, it would have to be electric and have the same rules as our electric bikes that we have. Again, I agree with Bill about the fact that speed is the biggest problem I'm seeing. When you have to speed up to get around what they should be doing is 20 miles an hour under a certain level. There's too many bikes now that are electric that are becoming too dangerous. And the same would be true of motorcycles. If they were electric, they would fit in probably with the electric bicycles with the same rules.
Thank you so much, Rita. That concludes our questions. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, everyone. I want to say a special thank you to the audience for providing us some good rhetoric tonight. I thought you all did really well, and we really appreciate you stepping up and answering the questions and and giving us a lot to consider when most of us are voting. So with that is going to be the closing remarks. This is going to be a 2-minute time. Feel free to use all your time and rally your troops, rally your supporters. We're going to start off with Greg.
Well, before I start, I'd like to thank the City Council and Jeannie for organizing this event. It's been great. And thank you all for coming tonight and asking these good questions. So I'm going to go back to my basic foundation of why I'm running. Number one, it's honesty and integrity. Like I said, I was in the business for 50 years where your word was your bond, and I will take that DNA, if you will, to my board position. The other thing is that I've been, as I said tonight, been on 2 committees. I think the financial committee among the 2 is the heart of this community, bringing the financial issues to the board. And I'm running on fiscal responsibility going forward. Not that it hasn't been up to this point. I'm not saying that for a moment, but I'm going to continue that and up the game if I can and make sure, as I said earlier, try and make sure and communicate to people how the finances work. Because I absolutely believe that if people understood how the finances work a little bit better, then maybe those fee increases, should they come, and again, they don't have to come, but should they come as a result of the Finance Committee's work and the board's decisions, that they'll be a little bit more well received. So really, the last thing is, and I mentioned this earlier, is my time commitment. I'm retired. I have the time to do this job. I'm excited about it. I'm thanking all the people in advance that vote for me, and I really appreciate your support. And onward and upward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, Rita, the floor is yours.
Well, once again, I've been a long time resident here. I see the community as my family. I would treat them as my family. One thing that I want to see happen is no prejudice, investigation. I will say that the one thing I do, maybe I'm not a technology whiz, but I will take the time to learn, and I will take the time to investigate, and I would make it clear, especially when people get fines, it should be understood why they're getting fined and, with proof and so forth. I've seen cases where people are getting tickets and then the guy across the street did the same thing and he doesn't get a ticket. So this is one of the things that I'm concerned with, is the communication and clearness of what is happening in our community. Again, I have a lot of professional background. I worked in performing arts years ago, and putting people on stage is what I like to do, not being on stage, but I made a prayer and said, if I have to go on stage, I will. But this is something I will make sure that everybody has a fair chance in here. That's one of the things I hear complaints all the time. And some of them are true and some aren't, and misunderstandings. So that's the main thing that I'm trying to help with the community. Anything that needs to be done should be done with investigation, professionalism. It should be done with honor and respect for all, regardless of who they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Good job. All right, Tony, you are up.
Awesome. All right. I want to leave something with you, and it's an acronym that I'm going to use to guide me. And it's BBFG. All right. There's 4 things that are very important to Canyon Lake, and it's boating, family budget, boating, family golf. Sorry about that. And I want to lead this board in this position with the same values that I've done in my life. I'm a 4th generation service member, and I think it's only fitting that I use this time to give back to the community that has given a lot to me and my family. I'm a huge supporter of what this place is, and I do think that there's a lot of integrations that we do need when it comes to technology at the gates, when it comes to technology and being able to give back or give feedback to your representatives, not only at POA, but at the city as well. And I think I can be a good transition to what our new community looks like. As we've seen our age demographic drop significantly and the amount of kids that are around here, we need to create a wonderful community to raise our children and set a good example for those beyond us, and then while retaining these same traditions that have been set forth for us, because we have an outstanding community and we have our previous boards all the way back to the beginning to thank for that. So I can only hope to fill those big shoes and continue this legacy with continued growth and financial responsibility.
Thank you, Tony. All right, Bill.
I'd also like to begin by thanking the chamber for hosting this. Thank you, Mayor Smith, for being an outstanding moderator. But also thank you to the people who showed up for this room, taking time out of their evening to spend time with us to hear who might represent them. And I applaud you all for doing that. And also the people who are doing it online who aren't here present. So thank you to everyone for taking the time to do this. My vision of Canyon Lake is that it's a desirable place to live as viewed by the residents and all the guests. I also have a vision for it being one of the safest cities in California, where neighbors work together to create a higher quality of life. And I believe it is our joint responsibility to ensure that these resources, the amenities, and all the activities and services that we have continue to thrive in that environment. As I said in my opening statements, I think what I bring to this community is I have a breadth and depth of experience, both in financial management, but also in security that can help make this place even better. I will, on a personal basis, I'm an open person. I'm open to questions. I like engagement. I appreciate all the people over the last 30 some odd days that have come out and given me their opinion. I always appreciate the feedback. And you can count on me to act with integrity. And I will take the responsibility. Again, if you're elected as a board member, your responsibility is to act for the whole community in their best interests first. And so I'll take that to heart. I would be honored to be elected as a member of your board of directors. And if so, I will put all the time that I've demonstrated in the last 30 days to continue to provide that level of service to the community.
All right, Alexis, finish. You're up.
I have a vast amount of work experience as well. I majored in accounting when I first went to college and then went back to school to become a designer architect degree as well. I have a servant's heart. I'm very anxious to serve our community and help to improve our security, to get more involved with the youth programs, and to do whatever's necessary and whatever time commitment I need to provide, I will do so. I'm very talented, I'm very creative, I'm honest, I'm transparent, and I really appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate everyone putting this together, the chamber, and you being a great person asking our questions this evening. And I look forward to becoming a board member and even serving my community more than I currently do. Thank you.
Awesome job. With that, I want to say thank you to each of you for the hard work that you're already showing the community by the willingness to step up. For those of you who are listening in the audience, whether it's online or behind me, please reach out to a neighbor and encourage them to vote. Tonight, we showed some phenomenal questions that people really care about this community and they want to see good, positive change. And that does not happen without getting involved and voting and being part of the process. So a big shout out to each and every one of you. Tonight is about you, and I can't thank you enough for participating. Huge shout out to the Chambers of Commerce. Let's give it up to them. And also the POA for letting us use this amazing facility, which two of you will be using the facility to direct the community. So with that, we are exactly.
Thank you to Mayor Smith.
No. With that, we are 3 minutes late. It is 8:33, so we're going to adjourn this meeting. Am I allowed to say that?